Hi, my name is Antonis and I'm the painter of this video. I hope you are great, you are creative and summer treats you nicely. It's so nice to be in the studio during all year round, but in the summertime we are more relaxed a little bit, and it's really nice to be more in the studio, practice more, be creative, and see what can come out of that. I hope you are healthy, creative, and today I want to share with you this my process on painting this woman's head. It's a study. Originally, the original painting is painted by Parmigianino, an Italian painter of the Manierism. And I will start by saying that I've painted this study on a canvas panel, and I've prepared this panel with an acrylic gesso, calcium carbonate with an acrylic glue. And after that, I've painted this whole canvas with a gray acrylic color that is middle value. It's not too dark or not too bright. And on that gray color, I will build my shadows and my lights. Here, you see me already painting the shadowy parts of this head, of this face, let's say, and I will try to share with you some thoughts on this process as best as I can. Now, first, I want to start by saying that I have no really recipes when I'm painting. I'm just observing very thoroughly the painting, the original painting that I want to study, to copy, let's say. And I try to imagine how the painter must have painted this. Of course, there is a huge gap between me and the original painter, because our experiences are vastly different. And for example, the more I do these studies, the more I understand how amazing these painters were, and how possibly I will never reach to their mastery, no matter how much I try. So I have to just approach these studies with a different spirit, not a spirit of creating the identical head of these paintings, of these the identical works of these masters, but more as something that I can learn of and apply what I learn to my own creative and original artwork. So, as you see here, I begin this study, this painting, by painting the shadower parts of the head. And now, as you see, I try to apply the more rosy, bright colors in the areas of the face where light hits the face. Please do forgive my poor English. It's really the best I can do, but I am of a certain age, and I really can't really improve. No matter how much I practice, I can't really improve in English. The opposite, though, can apply when painting. I believe the more we practice, the more we stay in our studio and paint, the better we become, the more familiar we become with our materials, and I think it's really, really important for us to be in the studio. So at this point, as you see, I just apply this rosy, lighter color on the head, and I try to place it in the correct shapes, in shapes that make sense. and will help later on with the painting. I'm not really worried about the specific hue of this rosy color, if it is more pinkish or more orangey or anything like that. I just want to establish some some covering of the whole thing. I just want to establish that, and then I will see what will happen. By observing the original painting, of course, I see that some areas are more orangey, more yellowy, more ochre-like. So at this point, I will try to, with a little brush, to establish these areas of color, as you see here, and then see what results I have and proceed with that. In general, I would say, of course, many times I say that I have no recipes and no specific steps that I follow. Say, first paint the nose, or first paint the eyes, or use these specific colors, or this or that. No, I believe the process should be more open, more creative, and trying to guess the colors that should be created on the palette is crucial for the creative process. So it's okay if you jump from an area to another. It's okay if if it doesn't make sense what you do sometimes. That's really okay. And don't worry if what you paint really doesn't look great, especially at the beginning. I would say that painting is a spiritual process, an intellectual process. It's a struggle, and the more we understand this, the better our results would be. It's a process that requires taking risks, requires to abandon our fear for failure. It's a process that requires us to be doubtful of what we paint, and that is really okay. We should be brave enough when we paint, and we shouldn't worry about having a masterpiece as a result. Our approach, in my opinion, is that of a student. We should be in the spirit of a student, and maybe the old masters will be kind enough to reveal us their secrets. The important again is to be in our studio, is to practice a lot, and something nice will come out of that. So as you see at this point, I don't have any, I'm not in a rush to cover everything. I'm just painting some things that make sense to me. This is a key to painting. You should always paint things that make sense to you, and I don't mean in terms of subject, what subject you will paint. Of course, this is up to you, but I mean while painting, while in the process of painting, don't just take your brush, dip it in your palette and paint randomly. Of course, this could also be part of the creative process, to sometimes paint randomly, but always try to understand what you paint, to understand what you do and why you do it. This goes very close to what I always say about knowing what's on your palette, what's on the palette, what colors you have blended and mixed on the palette. This is very important. And the same happens with the application of these colors, we should understand and know why we apply something and what's the reason for that application. Now here you see in fast forward this blending of this first coverage, let's say. I try to blend the bluish, grayish, shadowy area of the face to that more rosy, more pinkish one. At the same time, I see that there are some areas that are more dark, warm, more dark. Grayish, and I will try at this point where the oil color is still wet to do a very nice blending. Now when I'm saying nice blending, I mean a blending that is similar to that of the original painting. Now nobody was present when Parmigianino painted this head. We have probably there are some texts on the technique of those painters, but I think that no matter how many texts you read, practice is what will give you a nice result. And as you see, I apply here, I apply color and I blend, apply and blend. It is a beautiful process. It is a beautiful creative. It has its creation in this, although it is a copy that I'm doing, actually, a study, but there is some creativity in it. And I'm always excited to see the transformation of the painting in front of my eyes. So try to do some studies like this, to study the old masters. They will teach us many things. Be bold, courageous, and don't really worry if the result is not good. Now, as you see, now I apply some of the areas. I paint the lights on the nose, the bridge of the nose, and at the same time I try to blend. As you see, I'm using a smaller brush here, and something important for these studies, I find that using a softer brush is better than using a more hard brush. Many people think that oil painting equals very harsh, very thick brushes. Yes, that those can be used because in oil painting we move color around, we manipulate color, and oil color can be very thick. So that's why we often use very hard, thick brushes. But for this kind of painting, I use now you see me using an acrylic, a synthetic brush that is for iconography, that is for egg tempera mostly. It's soft enough, and this helps me create this more soft, smooth blendings between the colors. I often wipe my brush on a piece of cloth or on a piece of paper, and I fondle, let's say, the painting with with the brush. Make sure that your tools, the brushes in this case, really obey you, really do what you want to do. Don't force the tools into something they can do. We say that no, I have to use very hard, I'm doing oils, I have to use very hard brush. No, try to experiment, try to see what works best for you, and use that. Be open in the creative process. Don't assume or don't take for granted whatever you have learned from the school from the various schools that you have attended. Try to experiment and challenge what you know. Now, the more I do these studies, the more I find that these painters were just unbelievable, amazing. They are so admirable, and I really just wonder how they painted these paintings, that they are so rich, so beautiful, so nice to see them. Anyway, so now I proceed with painting even lighter areas of the face. I have to say that the painting at this point is still wet. It's I could have waited for a couple of days for this first layer to dry, but I decided to give it a go and see if I can apply even a second layer, let's say, of painting by now that the painting is still wet underneath. This will make my job easier, because blending will be easier, but at the same time I have to be careful not to make things more muddy, more they are harder to manipulate. The color is a little bit harder to manipulate. Sometimes you paint something and it just disappears. So as you see now, I'm using this thinner brush. It's an acrylic, a synthetic brush, and little by little, without being in a hurry, I will try to build these areas of light. When I was a student of many years ago, I thought that painting should happen spontaneously, quickly. I thought that if I painted very slowly, I was doing something wrong. And now I have to force myself to slow a little bit down and to realize that if I have to have even the slightest similar results as Parmigianino, let's say here, I will have to proceed slowly. Parmigianino didn't paint this painting in, let's say, 1 hour. He took his time, he was very thorough, and that's why the result is so amazing. Of course, that's not the only reason. His paintings are amazing. Most of those masters were completely devoted to their art. Painting was their what they did for a living, and most of them were painting since their childhood. So they had such a different experience. Painting for them was such a different thing than what it means for us now. Many of us, we just paint when we have some spare time. And of course, our approach is very, very different. We have so many distractions now that we can't even focus and concentrate in the process of painting for too much, I would say. Tell me in the comments below what you think of that. I know that I've no time to answer individually your comments, but I will accumulate any questions you have, and I will try to answer them in another video. At this point, I want to thank you so much for still being here. If you find this video useful in any way, thank you. Do share your thoughts in the comments below. I want to thank so much my patrons on patreon.com for supporting this channel. Thank you so much. The production of these videos is not easy for me. So just by supporting me financially, it's really nice, and thank you all so much. Now, I have to say that I really enjoy painting, doing these studies, just because, for many reasons, and one of the reason is that I try to learn the secrets, let's say, or the techniques of the old masters. I try to reproduce a painting that is as rich as the original one. Of course, I don't aspire to paint something completely similar, but these studies help me get accustomed to great painting, help me get accustomed to visually. My eyes, my vision is accustomed to looking great painting, and later on, when I proceed with painting my own creative, original artwork, I will I will search for a similar richness, search for a similar high level of painting in this artwork. So that's why I love doing these studies. It's a way to remind myself that painting can be very, very pleasurable, can be visually very enjoyable, and it's really nice. Um, I do suggest you to to do these studies yourselves. Now, sometimes we tend to paint more in a more dry way, in a more let's say lifeless way, more that I have students who really paint very realistically. They have the skills, but overall the painting lacks something, lacks a soul, lacks something. So these paintings, doing these studies, really force us to give our best to the painting, force us to search for something that we can't search when we do our own artwork, and this will inform our own artwork later on. I hope that what I'm saying do make sense to you, and I believe though the more you paint, the more you are in the process yourselves, the more you are in the studio, the more you will understand what I'm talking about here. And if anyhow what I'm saying doesn't make sense, please do forgive. I want to believe that the fault is my poor English. So as you see, little by little, I built this volume on the face, and I will apply these lighter highlights, let's say, on the face. And now with this almost dry brush, I will blend some more. I will wipe my brush and unload, let's say, the brush, and then without any load, I will proceed and fondle the the pigment, the painting, as you see here, and I'll try to blend even more with these little tiny brush strokes, and. Yeah, now I wipe my brush a little bit and I proceed with some more blending. I believe that at this point you can also let the painting rest for one day or two, and then revisit the painting and do some more blending. It's gonna be easier and with nice results. So we just do blending, applying color, subtracting color, as I'm doing now, and our goal is to produce something, to paint something that looks a little bit like the original one. Now, I will talk a little bit about the technical aspects of painting in oils. I used for this painting, the colors I used are titanium white, cadmium red, and alizarin red, some yellow ochre, some cadmium yellow, and a little bit of cobalt blue, and some black. I didn't use any fancy colors. I didn't use a huge variety of colors, just this very basic palette. And of course, I try to minimize black when I'm painting flesh tones. I'm using as less black as I can. I try to go darker by mixing my reds with greens, by mixing dark blues with alizarin red, let's say, and some dark ochre, and so on. If I cannot acquire a very dark tone, I will have to go to black. Now, when I am painting the first layer in oil, I will just thin down my pigments with turpentine oil. That's a way to keep the color very thin. It dries quickly, and it's nice. Now at this point, when you see me painting on wet paint, in order for the color to stay, I will have to add a little bit of linen oil on my palette. Now, many of you will ask me to show you my palette. Okay, I could. It's a little hard for me to do that, but I also, if I thought that it really added to you something, I would do it. And I'll probably do it in the future. Just I've done this in some videos before. I believe that it doesn't really matter to see me blending the specific colors. I don't want to teach you very specifically, to give you specific recipes on painting. I just want you to understand the thought process behind painting, and to let you discover and let you enjoy this the creation in the studio. So really, it doesn't really matter. I'm just using a piece of paper that can accept oil, a paper palette suitable for oil painting, and there I place all the colors that I told you before, and then I will start by doing the mixtures. For example, you saw in this video at the beginning that I applied a very a gray bluish color that you can see now right on the left side of the ear, that color, and that is some titanium white with some green, a little bit of red, just to break this cold color, just make it with the green a little bit more grayish, and like that. I don't think it's right to lock you in my own mixtures of color. Yeah. So what I'm seeing here, what I'm doing here, as you see, is I'm manipulating the color. Little by little I will apply the color, and since it's on one sitting, it's almost alla prima. I finished the painting of the face alla prima. Now I proceed after a couple of days after I proceed with painting the hair of this woman, and I will not stay too much on the technical on the process of painting the hair. I'll probably upload this video with more details on my Patreon page. If you go there, you'll probably see the video at some point of me explaining how I paint the hair and my thoughts on that. So, as you see, little by little, this head comes to its conclusion, and I have to say that although it's really not as amazing as the work by Parmigianino, it does look okay. I'm happy with that, and I would say that I have learned something out of this. Yeah, you should check the original, it's really beautiful. And if you live by a major museum or a place where you can see original artworks, please take advantage of that. It's really amazing. So this is the final result, and I hope you liked it, and I hope you enjoyed and you understood something of the way I'm thinking when I'm painting. Let me know in the comments below if this was of some help to you, or if you needed something even more technical, even more, yeah, I don't know. Thank you so much for being here. It's really nice to be back to you. And stay creative, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, paint more. And I will see you soon with another video. Bye.